So with the game that happened yesterday, they started off very sloppy, to be generous. That 14-3 start off for Detroit. They started out fast. We kind of like that's a lot how I envisioned Minnesota starting this game because I didn't expect much from Detroit, but they ended up coming up to like what was it, like a 17-6 lead within the first quarter, and then they ended up coming back, obviously because they. But I feel like the game was like a very good team win overall. Like I think this is a really good thing that we're actually having games where Adrian's actually struggling, because so far the past 2 weeks, like if it weren't for that 75-yard run, AP probably doesn't even have 70 yards, let alone what do you have, like 98 ish, around that, almost 100. So and then against Kansas City, I think he only had like what 60. So the fact that they're winning games without relying on Peterson as much is a good thing. Like this defense is maybe we're asking them to do a little bit too much at times, but I also feel like that is this team's identity at this point is just this defense. They sacked Stafford 7 times this time around. Like I know last time they played Detroit, they didn't get the sacks, but they got the hits. And then I think he actually went in for another X-ray thing after this game as well. So they beat up Stafford pretty well, which this is good because like so far I think during this stretch, for those of you who have watched the other like past 3 or 4 videos, I've been saying that this stretch between Kansas City, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, and Oakland, we need to win at least 4 of these because that next stretch is just brutal. It's brutal. So they're off to a good start with this so far with beating Kansas City and Detroit. They head off to Chicago next week. But back to this, Diggs looks like he's a real player. This is good because I like Patterson not working out so well. So I think this might spell the end of Patterson because Diggs also has some return ability as well, so he can literally play both. But I don't know if he would do that to him. Maybe if we can trade off Patterson during this next offseason, maybe that's a way to get Jerick McKinnon on the field. Because I like what they used him a little bit in last week's game. I don't know if they're going to continue to use him throughout, but I liked what I saw from him for the most part. Like, obviously, he's not a blocking back. That's why we have Asiata. Asiata comes in on the third down. He'll block in these third and long situations. But I feel like McKinnon can do some things in space. So having him in the back of kickoff returning, if we're able to trade Cordero, that might not be a bad thing, especially if we hit this home run with Diggs here. Because then now that somewhat makes up for our loss on this first round pick that we traded for in Patterson that ended up going to New England. And I think the main player that New England got out of this trade was Jamie Collins, which is rather useful. So, but I think that makes up for some of the pain if we hit this home run on Diggs, and since we missed on Patterson for the most part. So far, it'll be a miracle if he can actually get this done, but the odds are subpar at best. So, but this defense is not, they don't, after those 17 points in the first quarter, they didn't let up another point till that safety, which was for clock management purposes. So I think the defense is going to be fine. Like that's what's going to be able to carry us. We're going to have to torment teams with that. Which is why I think ultimately why we can win on the road this year, because now we have a defense that can actually do what Zimmer wants to do. Last year was the first year everyone was learning the new system. Now that we have a second year people and we have people emerging in this defense, like Barr, Kendricks is catching on quite fast. You have Harrison Smith, Rhodes, Everson Griffin, Linval Joseph, Sharif Floyd's hurt, but he's usually pretty good. Tom Johnson, he got some praise in uh, conference thing that Zimmer was getting in earlier today. So Zimmer actually called Tom Johnson maybe the best nose tackle he's ever coached. So come from the words straight from the man himself right there. So I can't contradict him, I don't think, because he's the one that sees him every day practicing. But Sharif Floyd's injury is he had a thing of cartilage picked out of his foot. They don't know how long that's going to be, which may not hurt as much because at least on they do have Kendrick Ellis there who was signed just recently because Shamar Stephen was put on IR. So they have him and Tom Johnson. Tom Johnson's obviously going to get more playing time. So I'm okay with having Johnson and Linval in the middle. I'm not opposed to that. Like I would rather have Sharif, but yeah, it is what it is. Now, what I do kind of want to see if Sharif's going to continue to be out, if they're going to roll with those guys, let's get some Scott Crichton in the middle. Because we haven't seen much of Scott Crichton since they picked him in the 3rd round the other year. So, and he is a little bit bigger. So I think if I'm not mistaken, he is around 280. So that's kind of like, he can kind of go both ways on this. So, why not on nickel packages, take out Linval, you can put in just Crichton right next to Tom Johnson, then you can still have B-Rob and Griffin on the outsides. So that might not be a bad way to go with this. Maybe, I don't know, and then the other injury update, which is worse, is John Sullivan needed another back surgery because of a weight room thing that happened. And Zimmer said he was doing well up until this point where he injured it again. Now he needs another back surgery on it. And so he said there's not a good chance he's coming back this year, which is not good because now that we see this happening with this line now, is going to continue with this struggling O-line in the run game. So I know a lot of people are saying like they're stacking the box and AP can't move because they're stacking the box. That is true. But it's also true that yesterday, they hit Peterson within a yard of the line of scrimmage, like behind it, like 15 or 16 times out of his, I don't know how many carries. But that just ain't going to cut it. You can't do that. You cannot expect your running back to break a tackle immediately when he gets the ball. So maybe he can do it once or twice at most, but 15 times? That's not happening. I don't care who you are. So that's going to continue to be a struggle. I don't know how that's going to play out. But I do know that Sullivan injury is going to destroy this later on in the year because now we're not going to be able to get as much of this run game going unless we can actually get Teddy more consistent. If we can get Teddy more consistent, that might be even better than getting John Sullivan back if we can get Teddy Bridgewater more consistent on these play action passes. So I think he was 145 yards yesterday with a 99.3 rating on it. So not bad for him. So if we can get him more consistent with this, give him some time, so things can develop like I think we saw with the Thielen grab. That was like 25 to 30 yards, I think, somewhere in that range. Just play fake. Darius Slay bit hard on that, just curled right around him. So if we can get more things like that, just get this run game going a little bit. It doesn't even have to be too much, because then once Teddy, I don't know if people know this, but once Teddy kind of got going, they went more into this cover 2 and cover 3 type of looks going on, and then that's when you saw AP go for 75. So getting Bridgewater consistent should be the new goal if for this running game. I think like maybe the plan is to get like maybe we want to start off play action fakes now. Maybe we want to start with those because now this can work out better, I think, because I think people have seen Peterson still. He's a little slower, I think, this year, but he is still Adrian Peterson. So he's not going. So it's like, you got to respect it still. So if you come off play action faking this immediately, maybe we get something more, well, less of those negative runs, because maybe they'll follow off Bridgewater as well. So it's kind of my hope for this, that they do develop that. I have complete faith in this defense, though. Like that's like I think they've hold teams 16, 17 points a game, I think, on average. So the fact that they can do this, I think, is great, because now we can just eat out the clock for the most part. We can take our time on our offensive drives. We can have these 10-minute drives, I think. Well, not 10-minute, my bad. Like, well, you know what I mean, like 15 play kind of drives. That's what I meant, not 10 minutes. It'd be great to have a 10-minute drive, though. I have to admit. But no, because now we don't have to worry about a quick shot to our defense like we have in the past. It's just they're consistent with this. They're gonna, see what we have been so far this entire year. They're gonna hit the quarterback, and they're gonna have solid coverage in the back. So it's nice. They're gonna rattle and cover. It's a pretty simplistic plan, but it is the plan indeed. So yeah, and that'll be it for now.